If you were to ask most F1 fans about the state of the sport currently, most people would tell you that there has never been a more exciting time for the sport. Only one other time in F1's long history have we been in a scenario in which the top two drivers are tied for the number one spot with only one race remaining. However, not everyone is a fan of the direction in which the sport is headed, and in today's video, we are going to take a look at why F1 in its current state is being called ridiculous by one of F1's most famous former drivers. You are not going to want to miss a second of this video, so do not go anywhere. With that being said, let's get right into the video. Jacques Villeneuve is not happy. The French-Canadian former driver for F1 is currently fed up with the way F1 is right now. Villeneuve competed in the racing league from 1996 to 2006, earning himself a world championship title in 1997, and is a very respected driver in the history of F1. He raced a total of 165 times with 163 total starts, won 11 races, made 23 podiums, and earned 235 points in that span. Villeneuve also raced to 9 fastest lap titles and found himself in pole position 13 times. So if you started this video wondering who this guy was, now you know that he is a pretty big deal in the history of F1 racing. Villeneuve's last race for F1 was in 2006 at the German Grand Prix, and after that race he transitioned to NASCAR, which he raced in till 2019. So for someone who craves the fast-paced, adrenaline-pumping action, why is he publicly voicing his displeasure towards this year's F1 series, particularly scorning the rivalry between Red Bull driver Max Verstappen and Mercedes driver Lewis Hamilton? Let's take a look. So what actually happened? As most of you watching this video probably know, Verstappen and Hamilton have been in a raging battle for first place throughout the entire season of F1. Recently, the pair had an altercation at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in which Verstappen and Hamilton collided due to poor decision-making by the two drivers. According to reports, Verstappen was directed by the Red Bull team to slow down and yield his lead going into the upcoming portion of the track, hoping to gain an advantage after surrendering the lead. However, Hamilton and the Mercedes team saw what the Red Bull team was trying to do and decided to not let their plan take shape, so Hamilton hit the brakes as well, electing not to pass Verstappen. This led Hamilton to crash directly into Verstappen's rear, causing both drivers to sustain damage. Regardless of which side of the rivalry you are on, you have to understand that both drivers are to blame in this childish display of racing. Verstappen should have continued racing to the fullest extent and had executed a better plan to ensure his victory. Subsequently, there's no way that Hamilton should have decided that crashing into Verstappen was the best course of action and that taking the open position could have been the deciding factor in favor of Hamilton. What did Villeneuve say? As a result of Verstappen and Hamilton's poor decision-making, tempers flared from seemingly every person to ever be involved in F1. Former drivers, current drivers, FIA team radio callers, you name it. But it was the words of former F1 driver and 1997 world champion Jacques Villeneuve that stood out to everyone following the incident in Saudi. In an interview with motorsport.com, Villeneuve said, "It wasn't F1, it was rental karting. Everything was wrong. So I'm not sure what to say." Those have to be tough words to hear for both Verstappen and Hamilton, especially considering who said them. Villeneuve went on to say, "It's hard to stay neutral. It's hard to give a comment on what happened every time and be perceived as neutral. You will always be perceived as taking sides, and that's when it becomes a bit too much." Despite Villeneuve's best efforts to remain calm in this scenario, he did not hold back as he continued on the interview. He continued by asking, "Do we want sport and good F1, or do we just want a Hollywood show? If you want a Hollywood show, Sunday was amazing, but what F1's all about?" Most fans would say that Verstappen is the up-and-coming best driver in the world, while Hamilton is the current best driver in the world. But the antics these two pulled in Saudi Arabia were completely unlike how professionals should act. Villeneuve did not stop there as he went on to say, "When you see the team principals, everyone is shouting and putting pressure, even on the marshals and so on. That becomes ridiculous. It really has become ridiculous." Entertainment versus sport. Some fans would undoubtedly claim that the race between Verstappen and Hamilton in Saudi Arabia was some of the most entertaining F1 they have ever seen, and they would not be wrong in saying that. I mean, the two best racers in the world are now tied for the lead going into the last race of the season because of the antics during that race. Other fans, Villeneuve included, would argue that this stuff does not belong in F1 and that the racer should only focus on the race and doing everything they can to win within the rules and within reason. Villeneuve spoke on the impact this race had on fans, saying, "It was great for fans, so that probably will increase the viewership, which is great for F1, but we are starting to get away from the sport, that's all. So ultimately, it depends if you are a purist or not." I have to say, regardless of how entertaining the race in Saudi Arabia was, Villeneuve is ultimately right. The integrity of the sport is more important than the ridiculous antics that resulted in the situation Verstappen and Hamilton find themselves in. Both Verstappen and Hamilton are tied with 369.5 points heading into the last race of the season, and we will see which attitude shows its head during that race, entertainment or sport. Sunday, December 12, 2021, Yas Marina Circuit. That is the date and time of the final race in this year's F1 F1 circuit, and no points separate the top two drivers. It is going to come down to Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton to see who will be crowned champion this season. Verstappen is technically in the lead because he has more race wins this season than Hamilton. This is obviously great news for Verstappen fans, but it is potentially horrendous news for Hamilton fans. In order for Hamilton to win the Grand Prix and be the 2021 F1 champion, Hamilton would have to finish higher than Verstappen. His goal is clear-cut and with no strings attached. However, for Verstappen to win, he technically does not need a single point, just so long as Hamilton does not score any points either. So technically speaking, if both Hamilton and Verstappen crash and neither racer finishes the race, Verstappen wins, even though he would not score a single point. This is leading people to speculate a scenario in which Verstappen purposely crashes into Hamilton to ensure his victory. Now, I for one believe that to be an insane notion, as Verstappen would undoubtedly be punished for his actions, which would result in him either being stripped of the title or having a forever tainted title. If he did purposely sabotage Hamilton, he could also be looking at a suspension and permanent ban from the sport, so I see the odds of Verstappen crashing into Hamilton on purpose being incredibly low. Furthermore, there is the possibility that if Verstappen did try to crash into Hamilton, that he could crash his own car and completely miss Hamilton's car, resulting in no points for Verstappen, which means that Hamilton would just have to finish the race with a single point in order to be crowned the 2021 champion. There is simply too much on the line for Verstappen to purposely crash into Hamilton. Additionally, the course the pair will be racing on is a brand new Abu Dhabi course with new turns, different straight sections, and a completely different course layout compared to the last time the pair raced on this track. When you consider that neither racer has raced on this course, you realize that no driver has an advantage over the other course-wise. History will not matter on this course. It will just be driver versus driver on Sunday, which means only one thing: a heart-pumping race to the bitter end to see who will be crowned the 2021 F1 champion. And that's the video. Thank you so much for watching. What did you think of the incident between Verstappen and Hamilton in Saudi Arabia? What did you think of Villeneuve's words regarding the incident? Who do you think's going to win the race in Abu Dhabi? Whatever your answer, let us know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel. It's free to you, only takes a few seconds, and it helps out the channel tremendously. Thanks again, and we'll see you all in the next video.